Since becoming a full member of the European Union and the Eurozone, Malta's status as a centre for international business has gone from strength to strength. The Mediterranean island can boast a strong economy, some of the lowest unemployment percentages in Europe, and robust economic sectors, including financial services and, of course, tourism. As a result, Malta has become the ideal location for those looking to live in the country on a temporary or permanent basis. Residency Malta Agency is the government body responsible for managing and promoting residency programmes for non-EU nationals. And Jonathan Cardona is the CEO. Jonathan, it is very good to see you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Pleasure is on mine to be here to discuss with you this very fantastic offers that we have here. So yeah, we look forward.
Fantastic. Well, look, tell us what it is that the Residency Malta programme actually offers individuals and families who are thinking about relocating, because we know that relocating can be a very difficult and at times stressful decision. So how do you take the edge off the process?
Well, to be honest with you, here, first of all, we offer three paths of residence for individuals and families to relocate. One of the most popular ones that we have here is the Nomad Residence Permit. This is a new phenomenon which started during COVID when people started to work remotely. And we are seeing an increasing number of individuals showing interest to come to Malta to work remotely from here. So once you have an interconnection, you can work around the world. And that's one offer that we have. Another one is where we are offering a startup visa. This we do in conjunction with another government agency, with Malta Enterprise. And here we come in that after the project is approved by Malta Enterprise, which is the entity which vets the applications, which is in charge for foreign direct investments. So one goes through the filters. Then we come in to make our own background checks and issue the residence permits that are applicable. Then the one which also is very, very popular from our end, and which is basically our main workhorse, is the Permanent Residency Programme. And here we offer a permanent residence to individuals and families where they can relocate here. And even through that, they can, since Malta, as you very rightly said at the beginning, is part of the European Union, part of the Schengen treaties, they can also use it to travel around Europe. I think Malta is attractive, and maybe we'll be delving into this later on. I think it's the lifestyle in reality. Mediterranean country, relatively easygoing, fast-growing economy. I think the fact that it's small, it's well contained, safe, but in a nutshell, what we have here is a very beautiful Mediterranean lifestyle.
And let's go back to the programs. I want to focus on the third one, in fact, the MPRP. So that's the Malta Permanent Residency Programme. I mean, what are the benefits that it actually grants to those who think, okay, this is the one that works with me?
So I think one of the main benefits is that it's basically from day one, once the applicants are approved, because they have to go through a certain bureaucratic and due diligence process. But once they're approved, they have a permanent residence from day one. So it offers them a peace of mind. I think that would be the number one attraction. Then also the way the program is designed, it is open to up to 4 generations within a family. So, and we know that for certain cultures, for basically all cultures, but for certain particular cultures, the different layers, different levels of generations are also quite important to live together. And we do cater for that. So, as I said, there are 4 levels of generations. It offers Schengen access, so anyone can move to another and travel around another countries in the Schengen area for 90 days, and every 180 days. It's a very safe jurisdiction to settle in. And I think also what this particular program offers and has a cutting edge is that it is not necessary to buy a property here. Many programs require a significant outlay, capital outlay, to be granted the permanent residence solution, so to speak, because at the end of the day, this is a solution. We offer property leasing option, which gives more flexibility, because from what we see, we have an increasing number of families who, they come here and they lease a property sort of to be able to fit the requirements of the program. Once they are here, they see the lifestyle, they see the education, they see the health system, they see the whole package. They decide that they too want to move here on a more permanent basis. And then, since it is leased, not purchased, it is much easier to find a property which is more adaptable to the requirements and the needs of that particular family.
Okay, so in other words, then, flexibility lies at the heart of what you're doing. But one of the key things which actually leapt out at me in your answer is this idea of 4 generations in one application. How unusual is that?
I cannot say it's unusual. I cannot say it's frequent. I mean, we do have occasionally, yes. It's not a complete exception, but from certain countries, yes, we do have, especially when there are young families with small children. Mostly, it would be 3 generations, to be honest with you. But yeah, we do have the occasional one, which are 4 generations.
Sure. So it's culturally sensitive, basically. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Yes, and that's something which is at heart to this agency, that we are very sensitive to the culture. I mean, Malta in itself is a very multicultural country, but above that, we as an agency are very, very sensitive to these cultural differences of our applicants, of our clients.
And what about the structure of the MPRP? Because it does offer so much. But when you break it down, what would you say are the key components?
So, first of all, we cater here for non-EU citizens. Because EU citizens are automatically have the freedom of movement in Europe. So this would not really add value per se. So this is for non-EU, non-EEA, and non-Swiss citizens. They have to have capital assets of €500,000 worth, of which €150,000 worth have to be liquid assets or financial assets. They also have to be fit and proper. I mean, here we, as an agency, we give a lot of value to due diligence, and our clients also want to be sure that the client applicant before them and after them are of good quality as well. I mean, there's an element of reputation. I've been with the agency for the past 4 months. I'm not new to the industry because I had spent close to 8 years in citizenship by investment. We've done a lot of work there. Now we're here, and something which is very, very close our heart is the quality of the program. And we are very pleased that the philosophy of having good quality applicants has also trickled down to our agents. And we see many agents, beefing up their checks and balances internally as well. So as a rule, as a principle, here the quality of the applicants is also important. Then the requirements per se, if they are purchasing a property, the minimum requirement is of €300,000 worth if it's in the south of Malta, and 350,000 if it's north or north of Malta. Property returns here are quite solid. I mean, it's an issue of supply and demand, and being a small country, supply is what it is. So property here in Malta, we have never so far in recent history, in recent decades, we've never seen the prices of property go down. On the contrary, it's a solid increase in price of around 5% annually. If they are renting, if they option for the more flexible one to lease out, then it is 10,000 in the south of Malta and 12,000 in the north of Malta. They're also able to, those who purchase property in special designated areas in Malta, there are particular areas that when they purchase, they will be able, after the first 5 years, to lease that property as well. So, it can be a very attractive proposal. So that is with regards to the property element. Then there is another element, which is the contribution to the government. If they purchase real estate, the contribution is it's a one-time contribution of 68,000, and if they lease a property, that goes up to 98,000 euros. Then there's a small donation to a local non-charitable or non-governmental organization. So in general, that is how the program works. Applicants are received through licensed agents. So in order for, we don't deal directly with the applicants, but we receive applications for the MPRP through licensed agents, who are the reason behind that, because I was heavily involved in the introduction of the licensed agents, is to ensure, when applicants are coming to Malta, there are cultural issues, there are language barriers, there are new regulations, so on and so forth. So I wanted to ensure that their application is properly handled by someone who understands the requirements. And we avoid a lot of coming and going and headaches. I mean, this is a very sensitive and emotional decision for a family to take. And we wanted to make it as easy for them as possible.
Hmm. And I know as well that you do have a thorough due diligence process, which in turn runs to 4 tiers. Why is that? And how does it work?
Well, in today's world, I mean, when you first, I mean, it's the world is the whole world like this. When there is an interesting proposition, an interesting solution, you will have many well-intended players coming in, but there will also be the usual few bad actors that if you do not keep them out, if you don't have the filters and barriers to keep the bad actor out, they can bring bad reputation and disrepute to the program. So it's always been our philosophy and investment migration here in Malta to ensure that we have a proper due diligence process. And we as an agency, I mean, very soon, the European Commission will be launching the new AML 6 directive, which will, for the first time, include residence by investment. So it's not just for Malta, but this is Europe-wide. Residence by investment as a relevant area in terms of AML. Here as an agency, we have also been very much proactive in this. And just in these weeks, we were adopting and fine-tuning our risk policies and risk appetites in line with other financial institutions. So we are basically already in line internally how we process applications with banks and other financial institutions. For us, that is something which we believe is the way to go. We want to be part of a proper checks and balance system. And we are very, very much proactive in this regard. What happens here is that there are multi-tier, as you well said. We say 4, but in reality it's more than that. Where apart from the checks that our agents are doing, then internally we have multiple layers here. So we ensure that there is a minimum of 4-eye principle. There is more than one person looking at an application for the obvious checks and balances. But we also engage with foreign, highly reputable intelligence companies who help us do the proper background checks. In certain first of all, we need to ensure that we are understanding the cultural background of the applicants properly, because sometimes something which is acceptable in our culture, in Western culture, might not be acceptable in another culture, and it can be also the other way around. Something which is a practice which is of normal day-to-day basis in other cultures might not be acceptable here. So we need to ensure that we are understanding their cultures properly. And also, because nowadays we're seeing an increased practice in many countries where there is geofencing in access to certain databases, and there are language barriers. So this is why we also engage these international companies of repute to help us check these databases in other countries to ensure that we are leaving no stone unturned. Once a person goes through these checks, then the process, I mean, there are some coming and going questions and clarifications, but by and large, many applications do make it through, because what's good is that the agents now understand what we are expecting, what is a no-go. If you find a dodgy business, the agents themselves don't even bring the application forward. They stop it at their level, and that has helped us a lot in our performance.
Given that the process is so thorough, how long does it take? Is there an average completion time?
Well, our promise is between 4 and 6 months. To be quite frank, because of last year, there was a significant increase in applications post-COVID. So there were many applications which are just being held at different stages at agent level. And last year, with the opening of doors of COVID, we've seen a significant influx. Right now, we have a bit of a backlog, where we are about 3 to 4 months above our promised target. But we have very recently implemented some changes here, and we hope that by the end of this year, we'll be having very attractive time frames. At the end of the day, these individuals who want to join this program, the MPRP, are dedicating a significant amount of their wealth to join this program, because it's not an expensive program, but on the other hand, it's not a cheap one either. It's not a cheap proposition. And someone who has, as a net wealth of 1.5, 2 million euros, and they are dedicating about 150,000 of their wealth into this program, it's not a small percentage. So they're dedicating a lot there. And we want to make sure that our turnaround, without minimizing or compromising the due diligence process and the checks that we need to do, will be offering them a much more timelier response.
The main thing is that you're actually getting across the backlog, because you've got new initiatives in place which should actually help to speed things up. But once you've cleared the backlog, that means that presumably you'll be in the position to take on new applicants as they come forward.
Yes, that's the idea. That's what we're working on. It's that I am driving our staff crazy at the moment. I'm pushing. But in reality, it's just focusing your attention on where it really matters. Fine tuning. Sometimes it's very obvious. I think it happens in every organization when it was, but why are we doing this? So, because we've always done it like that. And, do we really need to do it like that? Do we need, it's usual. I mean, it's the normal management change. But we're getting there. We've seen already significant improvement. And I believe in the next couple of months, we'll again see significant improvement, and we'll have more happy clients.
I mean, you know what? There are similar agencies doing what you're doing, but what is it that sets Residency Malta apart from the other players in the sector?
I think if I had to, put my finger on something, is that we try to be very much client-centric. The experience that we try to give our applicants, we try to give them a positive experience, even when they come here, the way we treat them, the way we greet them, the general atmosphere and attitudes of our agency. It's not of a typical government agency that one would expect, but being a government agency, we try to give a very much private sector approach, that kind of professionalism. And I think that leaves a good taste at the end of the day with the applicants. And it gives a positive. The idea is that normally people would, their social network would be of people equivalent to themselves. So if we give, and this is what we always try to say here to our people, that if we give a positive experience to an applicant, there's a good likelihood that he will speak positively about us to his social network, who are likely to be potential clients of ours. If we give them a negative one, a negative experience, that will translate to a negative outcome in the social network. So, and I think that philosophy is helping us a lot in keeping the agency abreast. I mean, we try to automate a lot. We try to keep up with new technologies. Even just recently, we've introduced new biometric machines where it gives the experience is different. It's not based on a standard digital camera, but it's now like a kiosk. It's faster. It gives a nice experience. And I think all these little things put together, it's how we keep our clients at the center of what we do.
Now, I've actually looked at your website, and the great thing about it is that it's very easy to navigate, and it's also good at how you've fused things together, because you've brought together Malta's past, present, and future, because it genuinely does have a very good economy. But the other thing that works well in its favours is its accessibility, because you have a strong aviation sector, fantastic airport links, and for people who do a fair amount of commuting, that is a bonus in their business lives.
Yes, and the way things operate today, like we're doing here, I mean, we're doing this interview remotely. So with the technology that's available here today, Malta is a very good proposition because we are, I mean, first of all, the IT infrastructure is excellent. Our connections, as you rightfully said, with mainland Europe is very good. There are daily flights to all main European cities. And for certain cities, there are more than one daily flights, multiple airlines operating from here. This year, it's the increase of passengers we've seen, it's been phenomenal. I think, again, we need to upgrade the airport. The airport actually is upgrading its infrastructure to cope with the great number of people traveling through Malta. And this is always a tricky balancing act that, I mean, Malta is small. So once it gets more popular, huge numbers come here, which in turn, affects the infrastructure. So we then need to upgrade. And so it's this vicious cycle that we are in right now, but at least it's in the right direction and we're quite happy there.
Jonathan, if you and I are having this conversation again in 5 years' time, what sort of an agency is it that you'll be describing to me? And more importantly, where do you see Malta in the world pecking order in a few years' time? Because clearly the island is punching very hard and heavy above its weight. And it's got everybody talking. There is a very discernible buzz. And that's no bad thing, really, is it?
So I think with regards to the agency, where we see ourselves is that we will be offering more migration solutions to niche markets. Right now, we are discussing a number of solutions. We're trying to understand where the world is going, where the new generations are going, what their priorities are, which is quite tricky. It's not easy. New generations are not that easy to understand, but it's an opportunity in itself. So we are trying to understand what their needs, their what their visions, their wishes are, and we're trying to offer solutions there for niche ones. And we're also trying to position ourselves as one of the most important agencies for the government, also when it comes to background checks and due diligence. We are very much proud of our employees. They are very dedicated. They are very knowledgeable. We invest a lot in them when it comes to training. So we keep ourselves always abreast to latest legal requirements, international legal requirements. So that is where we see ourselves on these two basically pillars, offering more solutions when it comes to migration, but also offering services both in the migration industry, but also when it comes to investment, background checks and due diligence for government-wide agencies. When it comes to Malta, I think Malta, the fact that it is small and everyone is accessible, I think that's a very great advantage. There's one disadvantage, that everyone wants to talk to everyone and it drives you crazy very easily. But I think I've been involved with the government for about 10 years, and this has been there since, I don't know, I think for the past 20, 30 years. Malta has always continued to improve and have its economy improve because that the political decision makers are very easily accessible. And we adapt our legal infrastructure based on the opportunities out there. These programs are a result of that. And we can see, for example, what we're doing in the AI industry, which is developing. Malta has one of the highest number of AI startups in the world per capita, obviously. I mean, we have a higher number of AI startups per capita than the US. So I think, and that's an interesting showcase because it shows that Malta can adapt quickly. We can implement the legal infrastructure in a European jurisdiction relatively quickly. And we are enablers for future technologies, for future visions, so to speak. I think that is what sets us apart.
There's a lot that's happening, which is why you need to book a date with me in 5 years' time, because I'm really keen to know whether your vision would have paid off. because so far it is looking very good. Jonathan Cardona, CEO of the Residency Malta agency, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and we'll see you again in 5 years' time.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for your time.